Welcome back to my Meal Prep Sundays, and today I have a special treat for you. We are going to be doing some breakfast. I'm going to show you how to make my easy 5-ingredient keto breakfast sandwiches. I know that's a mouthful to say. It's also a mouthful of a sandwich. The first thing I like to do is get my tinfoil and my paper towels all set out on the table and to get ready to assemble. And we're going to be making 6 of these easy 5-ingredient keto breakfast sandwiches today. 3 of them are for myself and the other 3 are for my dad. So yeah, remember on Sundays I meal prep for my dad and myself. So you might be wondering why I'm doing the foil and the paper towel. Well, it's because the foil is what's going to keep it completely sealed in and fresh, and the paper towel is so that when you get ready to eat it later in the week and you take it out of the fridge or the freezer, it will already be wrapped in that paper towel to pop in the microwave. And I'm just going to show you what that looks like from a different angle here. Here's our cast of characters. We've got turkey sausage, we've got cheddar cheese, egg whites, whole eggs, and light multi-grain English muffins. These are only 100 calories each. Now, obviously, I said that these were keto breakfast sandwiches because the goal here is high protein and low carb. And these English muffins obviously are low calorie and pretty low carb, but there are other low carb ideas on the market for these sandwiches. Sola makes some really great low carb bread. You could also use zero carb or low carb tortillas. There's lavish bread. There are just lots of options for keto and low carb today. So don't feel bound to use these, but this is what I decided to use today. They didn't cost me very much in terms of carb count because this is basically the only carb in the meal, and 26 carbs is okay for me. Just to give a quick rundown of the keto diet, I am by no means an expert, but I have participated in this type of eating before. You just want to consume at least under 50 carbs a day in order to kick your body into ketosis and stay under that 50 grams of carbs a day to remain in ketosis. I've done a lot of different things throughout the years in order to lose the baby weight. I've had 3 children and counting calories always worked for me. But recently I am staring at 40 years old and it has definitely made a difference, and I've had a hysterectomy. So I've had to go low carb, a little bit more than low calorie. Here's the specific turkey breakfast sausage that I'm using. Now I want to go back to that calorie carb debate. So calories are still important and I still factor them in. I don't just completely omit them, but that's just me. Everyone's different and you really have to figure out what works for you. But I will say this, we are on the 3rd week of meal prep with my dad, and he lost 8 pounds in the first week just by eating the meals that I prepped for him. And I just didn't do one thing for him. I did all of his breakfast, all of his lunch, all of his dinners, his snacks, and dessert. And I would love to eventually be able to give you all 3 or 4 or 5 of those things on Sunday, but right now I'm limited to just one because it's a lot of editing, it's a lot of writing, and I want to get it right. But maybe in the future I can put some weekly meal ideas together for you. Okay, so I'm adding some whole eggs here. And then I'm going to be using some liquid egg whites. Now, I have never done that before until I started meal prepping, but the protein is through the roof and it really reduces the calories and the fats and the cholesterol, obviously. So these liquid egg whites have become a staple on my meal prep weeks because they're perfect to use for the reasons that I've already mentioned. In case you missed what I've already done, I had to split the muffins in half because they weren't separating. They're the egg whites. I'm adding a little salt and pepper here, and then I just took the sausages out of the package and placed them on the English muffins. I'm going to give those eggs a really good mix before I'm going to place them into a baking dish that has been sprayed with some non-stick cooking spray. I think I used an olive oil one. Now you might be saying, why don't you just scramble the eggs? And that's a very valid point. You could totally just scramble the eggs, but the reason I'm doing them in a baking dish, by the way, it just took about, 15 minutes in the oven. It's in the directions. It's because once they bake, it's going to be easy to cut them out into a circular shape, the same shape as my muffin, and the eggs are going to be able to lay flat. You could totally put scrambled eggs on these sandwiches. It's the same thing. It's just that scrambled eggs typically fall out of breakfast sandwiches, and if they're made to be flat and round, then they just stay put. Okay, while I'm waiting on the eggs to get done, I'm going to go ahead and measure out my cheddar cheese to put on the muffins or the breakfast sandwiches, however you want to say that. And 3 of these are for me and 3 are for my dad. And he informed me that he doesn't really like cheese on his breakfast items, which I was shocked, you guys, because I am always looking for an excuse to put cheese on things. And it just helps if you're going to warm something up later because it keeps it creamy and it helps it to not be dry. So I was very concerned about his breakfast sandwiches not having cheese on them. And then you see me here being very bothered that my 3 and his 3 were mixed up. So I had to rearrange that for my brain. I don't know what that is. But anyway, here's a shot of the cheese and the sausage on the sandwiches. And now the eggs are done. And you can see if you zoom in or look very closely that I've already taken a cup and cut rounds of eggs out for every one of the sandwiches. But there was quite a bit of egg left in the pan. Well, that's part of our calorie and carb count, and it's part of our meal. So I went back and got all of the little pieces of egg that are left in the pan and divided them evenly among the breakfast sandwiches. If you hang around very long with me, and I hope that you do, you'll know that I just do not do food waste. It literally pains my soul to throw away good, delicious food. So I'm going to get all of the egg on there. I'm going to make this work. And because they were baked and they were flat, I was actually able to pile it on there, if you want to say it that way, or stack it and not worry about it falling out of the breakfast sandwich. Then it was time to pop a lid on them, as my family would probably say. I wanted to show you what that looked like. Do you see those cute little rounds of eggs? They're so sweet. It also makes your sandwiches look a little more professional, you know what I mean? I tried to give you this beautiful up-close shot, but the truth is the sandwiches are going to look the best when they're warmed up and that cheese is melted and ooey gooey and flowing over the sides. And that's not happening at the moment. That's going to happen later in the week. So here's our finished product, and now I'm going to get ready to wrap. I'm going to try to do this with one hand just so I can show you, and then quickly realize that's pretty impossible. So I got a different angle so you can see. Do you see how the egg is going to stay because it's flat? It's just easier to do to keep in the sandwich than these scrambled eggs. I'm going to wrap this up and tuck it on all sides and make sure that it's completely covered, especially if it's going in the freezer. And there's my little sandwich package. I'm just going to keep doing what I'm doing until all 6 of them have been wrapped up. And because my dad and I have variations, I put our initials on there because he would be very disappointed to get the breakfast sandwiches that have cheddar cheese on them. He did later tell me that he would just put a little bit of honey. There they are, made for Jesse and Dad.